Hi guys, so I'm going to do the second dream that was listed for interpretation by Joyce Mathieu. Very interesting, where we have this fish like looking man, and I will read what she left. I'll grab my cards and give you what I'm picking up. We also then have Larissa Jeffrey and Tiba as well. And again, if I run into overtime, those will be other little videos that will follow. Okay, now for this one, the story is, Hi Maija. My husband said he woke up in the middle of the night um, and seen a fish with a man's face pulling me up. And it had its arms, fins around me, and I was halfway sitting up when the fishman realized that my husband could see him, and then he disappeared. Could you please interpret this dream for me? Thanks so much. So, again, she's saying, Joyce, you're saying that your husband woke up in the middle of the night and saw you this with this fish man trying to pull you up. I don't know. I just have some questions. Did you dream that he woke up and saw this, or did he really wake up and see this? So that I have a little bit of confusion where that's concerned. Um, but just looking at it, what you wrote, it definitely makes me feel like it's another type of being of some kind. Interesting how it's manifested as a fish with a man's face, but its body has fins, and so that's interesting. And I'm going to, in this case, I think I'm going to go, use the Earth and Bone deck and see what I get. Okay, I got all the cards out. You know, sometimes the way these boxes are made, the paper tends to stick, and I can't get out the booklet. This deck in particularly, it is, there's almost like a waxy, slightly waxy type of finish on the outside of this, and it can cause that kind of a stick. And I'll just keep the pamphlet out, although I don't usually use it. If you do hear anything in the background, I do think I hear a ice cream vehicle, ice cream man, a person coming around the neighborhood with ice cream. You scream. Okay, so this is for Joyce. What does this dream mean of the man with, or the fish man? Let me take a look. I'm going to put this on hold for a minute because there's more noise coming in from outside, and I just want to focus and focus out all of this. Okay. So again, just shuffling up the Earth and Bone Oracle cards, and I'm looking at what the meaning is of this fish with the man's face that was pulling Joyce up and into a sitting position. I'm sure some are thinking, well, is this like an alien being trying to abduct. That thought came to me, but definitely some form. Well, I say definitely, but I think it's a definite possibility. More should I say that I think it's an interdimensional being that, upon realizing that the husband is observing what they're doing, they disappear and they stop what they're doing. So let's see, what do we need to know? And what does Joyce need to know about this creature? Let's just put it this way, this being that she dreamt about, trying to basically pick her up under her arms and put her in a sitting position, and then only stopping once the husband sees them in the dream. And that's what I'm taking it to mean from what she wrote, and that makes sense to me. And I'm hoping that if I'm gotten anything wrong, Joyce, that you will clarify. So let's just see. What does this dream mean that Joyce had with the fish man, pulling her up to a sitting position and then disappearing once they realized they were being observed by her husband? What is this about? And I ask for my guides and mentors, the Holy Spirit, to help me to interpret accurately. Okay, that's what we get. You might be hearing again some noise in the background here. Between the wound vac, the ice cream person outside, and the school, it can be pretty noisy here. Sorry, I've just got something on my nail I need to clean off there. A little powder. So let's see what we get. The cards also have that kind of feeling that can make it hard to pull just one, but it's a great deck. Don't want to give the wrong impression. Look at this. It says Ascension. And again, I read in pairs. So we're talking about something that's transformative. This says end of a cycle, beginnings, change, metamorphosis. And we're getting portal. So these two coming together are also kind of echoing some similar, like the opening up of a new cycle. I also feel like sometimes various beings can, let's say, travel interdimensionally, especially when we're asleep, uh, and communicate with us. That's why we get the dreams that we do. This one, I'm not quite sure what their point was in trying to physically, in the dream, sit her up. Is it to help her to awaken? Is it, I don't necessarily think it's negative, but it disappears and stops what it's doing once it realizes the husband's observing. And really, you want to ask yourself, what's the point of it picking Joyce up and sitting her up? What was it trying to do? And I'm not trying to be like, oh, be afraid. Never want to be a fear monger, because I think a lot of the fear is just becoming just over the top in this world. And we need to quit living in so much fear. We have to have some to keep ourselves safe in a reasonable way, but there's so much unreasonable fear. So I'm definitely feeling that there's both of these cards are talking about change, new beginning of a cycle, an opening up. Um, the portal itself card talks about progression, opening, as I was saying, opening up, and a literal space to, I think, come through. And it portal is also being able to access. So it is accessing, and we have ascension. So there's definitely, I feel like, something to do with awakening awareness. Right now, they say a lot of people are saying the ascension and 5D, and I don't really speak as much in those terms, but I definitely think we are going through a time where we are, from my own dreams that I've had of where I was running and trying to wake people up. So I think this is part of awakening. So in looking at Joyce's, I feel like part of her growth, awakening, quickening may have been going on in connection to this being that she saw. And maybe this being is trying to, quote unquote, kind of help her wake up, become more aware. Again, the reason I bring in a dream I had was that it was a lucid dream, and I was shown, this especially before COVID, people just kind of living with their heads in the sand, and we're still doing it. We need to really come to an understanding that we're not physical beings first, that we are eternal spiritual beings of great power and ability. Um, and we're needing to awaken to that. That's what all this ascension 5D stuff really is leading to. It is a greater awareness of our true nature that has been forgotten once we come to this planet. And so I think her dream is part of her growing to awaken. It's showing up with the cards, and it's talking about access, opening, progression, and a new dynamic and a new cycle. Also getting the warrior, and what a cool card. And as I read in pairs, let me just grab the other one, and shadow. So the warrior card, not surprisingly, reminds me of strength with the woman and the lion, because it's talking about using your inner strength, not always becoming, like, let's say, physically aggressive. But it's talking about inner strength, clarity, focus, receptivity, presence. And I think that's what she's growing toward. And maybe this being is trying to help her awaken to this, even though very odd that they had a body that looked like a fish. But we'll talk about that in a minute. The shadow card, it says, I'm not good at reading backwards, wholeness, integration, repressed emotions, mystery, and warrior, which talks about, again, inner strength, clarity, focus, receptivity, and presence. I think it's becoming definitely more aware and more. It's interesting that I keep getting the same message, but not necessarily, because we are at a very, I think, pivotal time of awakening, uh, to beginning to really get that we don't just come to Earth and this is it, man. This is all who we are. That we're going to more and more understand in a way I feel that is very palpable, that we're so much more, and that I think we're going to be, how to say that, where you've got your higher self, your divine self. Boy, are the crows going. They've got a lot to say too. Um, we're clearing out also with shadow and the portal and getting. I feel like we're moving up, we're leveling up, and we're getting rid of old stuff that no longer serves us, maybe never did, and we're gaining clarity, greater focus, and understanding by looking at shadow. And the fish man is kind of a shadow because fish are underwater, and typically underwater, that's considered your subconscious. Um, so, whatever reason this being took on this appearance in her dream, I feel like symbolically it's showing subconscious trying to awaken a higher level of consciousness within Joyce. Is the Fishman could be, I think, in all probably, another interdimensional type of being that comes to awaken us, comes to make us aware of something far greater. And it's the Ascension card isn't a small card. This is major elevation of understanding and vibration because that comes with it, as we know, those of us that believe. And wholeness. When you also look at your fears, you can sort them out, get rid of what doesn't serve a purpose, and integrate your being in a more powerful and, I think, eye-opening way of that you really never understood about yourself. There's again a great strength that has come out of looking at and dealing with shadow, not only our own, but very often what our families and society project onto us. And so it's very important that we not allow shadow to close our eyes again, because this is a time of opening our eyes and awakening. I get nest, which is talking about sharing, support, generosity. I feel again that sense of opening up, and I'm going back to that portal card that's talking about a literal opening, and receptivity within the warrior card is also being more open but protective. And we get the nest and we get sorcerer. So sorcerer says ambition, determination, willpower, creation, and focus. It's not necessarily a negative card. Unfortunately, through, again, limited thinking that we are, I think, now trying to break open and break free from and ascend to a higher awareness, that's part of what I feel like Joyce's dream is about. And this being and her remembering the dream and the fact that it was sitting her up from a sleeping position, or makes me feel that it's carrying a message of awakening and awareness and looking deeper, that your awareness is growing and that you want to keep that happening. And I feel like the more you begin to see beyond the veil of things, how it's been in the past, I think we're going to look back and say that we've had, not just this year, but let's say within the last 5 years in particularly, tremendously uh, quickened change that's going on. And I think we're going to see that continue because we are in truly a new cycle, just like the card was talking about here, a new cycle with ascension of growth and transformation, and especially out of shadow and fear and parts of ourselves that we don't fully understand. Because shadow isn't always a negative thing, it can just be parts of ourselves that we don't know that well because we've not put the light of our conscious thought and consideration upon it, and that we're more than just how we feel as Joyce feels about herself and I feel about myself and you about yours. There's more. And when we're in this realm on earth, part of the reason we don't have the awareness is it would be a little too overwhelming for people. But I think they're starting to spoon feed us awake a bit more and more so that we can understand greater truths. Sounds like a whoopee cushion, that thing. That we are so much more capable of understanding greater things. The whole things with UFOs and stuff going on. It's a tremendous time of transformation, and it's about becoming awake and aware and clearing through our baggage of shadow and getting clear on shadow and be, becoming stronger as a result, that warrior, and protective of our boundaries. There's more clarity and understanding. And the sorcerer to me is somebody that is more aware and is then trying to actively use their new understanding with this awareness to make changes in their life and share that information with Nest and with family, and her sharing her dreams with her husband, even as she does, that he listens and goes, wow, that's a little crazy. um, but it's important because I think even by this very seemingly benign kind of an act of sharing the dreams, you are becoming more aware. I'd say that I also, part of the messages of the dream is to work on the shadow side, to work on the limited belief side that's got you locked into thinking that the earth reality really supersedes and holds more uh, dominance in your awareness. And that we need to realize, yes, as much as we need to be aware of certain things while we're incarnate on earth, we also are coming to a time that we can begin to, I feel like, digest greater knowledge than where we've been for, I think, frankly, centuries. And there is sharing that. And there is sharing things that one does or tries or how they think and to help themselves in life and in how they're growing. Okay, a few more cards. I get shelter, which is just what I was talking about: spiritual growth, revival, accountability, and healing. And so, with new awareness through ascension and portal and re-examining things and kind of clearing out with shadow the baggage we don't need, we're just creating space and opening for truths that have been blocked, I feel, and things we hadn't been able to realize because of self limiting and societal limiting thoughts that we have about who human beings are. So, shelter is also, to me, needing to make sure you have an area that is kind of your safe space, um, to think about these things, to share these things. It helps us definitely to become more accountable and honest with ourselves and our own behaviors, whether we're limiting ourselves or allowing what other people say to us about ourselves to do so. It's just becoming more open, more aware, and clear where we've been shut off before so that we can continue to grow. And then there's also the card of prosperity with this. I think it is a protective set last set of cards where you're protecting your boundaries, your growth, the knowledge about who you really quote unquote are, and that you're sharing the wealth of what you learn and how you can help other people with prosperity. Prosperity isn't always about how much money you have in the bank. It's, in truth, this things that are not transitory in nature or temporary, and that you do take with you. Your soul will always carry it around. So, that to me is wisdom, knowledge, truth, and clarity as to the state and the truth, again, regarding one's being. Achievements, abundance, contentment, success in the spiritual growth area. So I feel like these dreams definitely, whether people realize it or not, even if it seems like kind of a wish-washy dream or a strange dream at sometimes, right now, what the two dreams I've just interpreted um, have been showing that it's really a new cycle and about dropping the scales from our eyes, opening up, realizing with greater clarity a lot of truths that we didn't really think much about before or even honor or know existed. So there's, to me, activity happening for Joyce. And I don't feel like this being was necessarily going to do anything bad or anything. I think it's much more a dream that was given to Joyce to help her realize that there are beings uh, that are trying to help her, just as they do others of us, to wake up and to continue to grow and to be open to considering truths that we maybe weren't ready to hear before. I think we're going into a cycle of a quickening where we've got all these things going on, sometimes unfortunately, and natural disasters or man-made disasters, um, but that this is a time not to get lost in that, but to come together and realize a much bigger picture that's going on. So that's what I feel like Joyce's dream is about, awakening. Because what do fish swim in? They swim in the water, underwater. And that's this representative of the subconscious. And he's just a combination being of human, having a human face, something that one can recognize and relate to as a human, but the body of a fish, we're all, that makes me just want to go back to another dream I had where of connectivity, that we're all connected, we're all one. So Fishman is of earth and yet of spirit too. And is trying to help Joyce awaken and broaden her understandings. And through her sharing, even though her husband may not know it to think about some of it, he has the opportunity to broaden his understandings and awareness too. And again, I suggest a dream journal. Okay, that was Joyce's Mathieu, her reading on her dream. And I hope y'all enjoyed it. Please, if you're just sitting here listening and you don't want to comment, that's cool. That's fine. But if you can give a thumbs up for me making the effort and taking the time and putting this out there, it would help my channel a whole lot. And I don't know why it seems sometimes to help people, but when we tell them it's free to put the thumbs up, to take that action, and it benefits the channels that you're listening to, please do it. Please and thank you. And if you're subscribed, make sure you got your notifications on. And I thank you so much. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. All right. Have a great day. I will talk to you with the next video that will be forthcoming for Larissa Jeffrey and Tibba Ross. All right. See you later. Hope you have a good one.